Here's Rineman in the Morning, on demand from 102.1 and 105.3, The Shark.
I've known my next guest for almost 20 years from doing stand-up in Boston. You may know him from the critically acclaimed HBO special, The Great Depression, and he has a book coming out this fall called Misfit from Peabody, Massachusetts. Please welcome Gary Gulman. Gary, how's it going?
Good, John. Good to hear your voice again. It's been a long time.
Gary, I appreciate you making this house call for me because you are the most optimistic Celtics fan I know. And I need it so bad. Please remind us right now why it is not yet the end of the world for the Jason Tatum Boston Celtics.
Oh, my gosh. He's 25 years old. His partner or second best player is 26 or 27. They look like they're going to sign him. And, I mean, no exaggeration, they've gotten significantly better every year, those two players. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, they've been playing since last June. Jason Tatum had an ankle injury on the first play of the game. We should be grateful that it wasn't a Gordon Hayward ankle injury or leg injury. So I'm optimistic. The other thing is, which teams would you trade your players with? Would you rather have the Miami Heat players? I mean, maybe the Denver Nuggets are going to win the championship, but I prefer this team because we've had them for the most part, except for Brogdon, I think, and Al, since they were rookies. This is the way you build a team, and we should be grateful and just win it all, or your failures is so absurd. Are we fans or are we critics? Are we critics? Is that what we grew up wanting to be when we were young, to grow up and be critics of athletes, and without exception, superior athletes? It's so gross, but it's basically what everybody has become, that everyone, unless they're the GOAT, which is such a nonsense expression, unless they're the GOAT, they are failures unless they win a championship every year. I mean, it's infuriating.
I agree. I mean, well, what do you think about Joe Mazzulla? Do you bring him back? Do you like him coaching?
Yes. His first season thrown in there without much preparation, and he takes you to the Eastern Conference Finals and an ankle injury away, perhaps from making the NBA Finals and also winning an NBA championship. I mean, should the Warriors fire Steve Kerr? Should the San Antonio Spurs get rid of Greg Popovich? And those guys are veterans. This was his first season. I imagine somebody that young is on a trajectory that would have him improve year to year. I mean, it's just they just want to blow up because they didn't blow up a team because they didn't win a championship in the guy's first year. I mean, Bill Fitch didn't win a championship in his first year, and he got beaten 4-1 by the Philadelphia 76ers, and they weren't even close to defeating the 76ers in 79-80. Should they have fired Bill Fitch, who clearly wasn't even dealing with as difficult a defensive scheme or offensive scheme as they are now? In 79-80, they just ran a couple of pick and rolls here and played two-man ball. I mean, these questions are nuts, John.
Well, you've made me feel better, though, so I'm glad I asked them.
Okay, good.
Well, here's a more substantial question, I guess I would say, is that I have a 6-year-old daughter, Sadie. Her favorite player is Jaylen Brown, and this was a difficult one for me. My daughter's Jewish, and Jaylen Brown retweeted some stuff this year that infuriated, I think, everybody. How did you handle that as a fan of the player, but probably not so much the message?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Kyrie thing and the ignorance, but also there's it's very difficult to handle, but I also feel like the alternative is that he's not a person who is interested in politics and culture and his own history and his own identity and just is about making money. He's a bright guy, and it's complicated. And I think Kyrie is ignorant, and Kyrie is a mentor to some of these younger players, and you tend to understand where your mentor is coming from, and I'm sure there's some BS proof of his ideas that he's sharing with them, and they're sharing it, and it's just gross. But anti-Semitism is so complicated in its appeal to people because it's this conspiracy, and it appeals to people who are into conspiracy theories, and it's so disgusting and infuriating, and I would be lying if I said Jaylen Brown didn't go down in my mind, but at the same time, I think also Boston has been so unwelcoming to young African American athletes over the years that you could see where somebody could be negative in their feeling towards the Boston fans and be attracted to somebody who is rebelling against white fans. I don't know. Why does it have to be? Why can't he just hate white people? Why does he have to hate Jews?
Yeah, I know. My hope is that hopefully he sees everything that goes on with Kyrie in his own life and his career, and finally maybe pieces that that's not the right person to be following. That's kind of
no. I know. He did distance himself from Kanye, which I thought was helpful, and then he left that agency. But yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm with you though, where it's like, I guess I was so sad the other night because, I want to see these guys make it work together. And it was like just seeing him and Tatum in the locker room together after that Game 6 win. Yeah. It felt like it was like, are they clicking? And it's like, yeah, Tatum got hurt, but I'm like, it would hurt me so much to not see that through and to not, because like I said, it's like, these are my daughter's Celtics kind of in a way. And it's like, these are her favorite players. It's like, I want to see them make it work. I want her to grow up with these guys, I
mean, I don't know whether I'm glad that my family made me think that these wins and losses were any more important than wins and losses by people that we don't know in other cities. That I felt like it was the Celtics beating the Sixers growing up was a good triumphing over evil, and it wasn't. The Johnny Most made it sound like the Sixers were violent and wild, but they were equally deserving teams, and I mean, Billy Cunningham was probably as good a coach in the league. He just happened to coach a team that had to face the Celtics all season, and so he's not mentioned as one of the greats, even though he won a championship and got close two other times. He just happened to go up against the Blazers with Bill Walton and the Lakers with Magic and Kareem, and then he played in the. I mean, it's just what do we expect out of our teams? Championships every year.
Right.
One championship is plenty. Every championship since the 2004 World Series by the Red Sox has been I've been indifferent to. I couldn't. I didn't follow it as much, and if they had lost any of those, I wouldn't have been miserable. When the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Patriots at Super Bowl, I was happy for all my friends from Philadelphia who had been miserable for 50, 60 years or however long they'd been. It's just that these. I mean, there's something in between the Bronx Tale. Mickey Mantle doesn't care about whether you can pay your rent So why are you spending so much time invested in how he plays? He's for the most part, not a great individual, nor was Joe DiMaggio or a lot of these guys. Curt Schilling was a creep,
yep,
and is a cretin, and it just I don't know that these are the things that we should be getting so invested in hero worship and everything. I don't know whether my family did a disservice to me in making me think that athletic greatness was the ultimate human contribution.
Well, you probably talk about this, though. I mean, I can't wait for your book, The Misfit. It's coming out this fall, right? Can you tell us about The Misfit?
It's just called Misfit.
Oh, it's Misfit.
Yeah, I'm the publishers have told me not to talk about it until later on this year. But I'll just say that it's a memoir of my life from kindergarten through 12th grade, and it's probably the best thing I've written if you compare it to my jokes, just because it's deeper and more personal than anything I've done, including the Great Depression. So, but it comes out September 19th. It's available for pre-order now at GaryGulmanBook.com.
What were some of your favorite hangouts growing up in Peabody in the 80s?
Oh, in Peabody, I mean, there were 3 basketball courts in South Peabody at James Street and at Emerson Park. So those were some of my favorites. But then I also used to go to Symphony Park, which was easier to get to, and that's where I spent more time than any place other than school was at Symphony Park, and almost all my friends and a lot of them who I either still stay in touch with or see frequently, like my best friend of all time, Jay Hurwitz, I met at Symphony Park. So it was just this fountain of great times and great friends. I'm so grateful for that place. But other than that, I also spent a lot of time, especially when I was 8 or 9, hanging out at the North Shore Mall because my mother had a job there and babysitting was expensive. So I used to walk around the mall while she worked from 4:30 till 10. And you can't imagine leaving an 8-year-old at a mall now, but it was, and it wasn't that common then, but I felt safe, and I made friends with everyone from the Orange Julius to the Sears to the clothing stores and T-shirt makers. It was an interesting but lovely time in my life.
What store did she work at?
My mother worked at a Hallmark store called Murray's at the mall.
Oh, okay.
Where she got like probably $3.10 an hour, but she also made up for that by stealing a lot of greeting cards. She augmented the income by stealing greeting cards and a lot of Russell Stover's seasonal candy that they probably just let her take home because it was out of season. But
you just get a card for every single holiday. Happy St. Augustus Day. What? What do I need? Take it. This is currency here.
Yeah. Totally. But mostly Ziggy.
Yeah. It's June 1st. We just came off of Mental Health Awareness Month, but that's an issue that doesn't end on June 1st. And
I know, right?
You gave some wonderful advice, though, a few years back, because you did this wonderful thing where you went on Twitter, and every day you gave out some writing advice to people, but it was also life advice. And you said something about making a deal with yourself when you don't want to get out of bed. Do you mind sharing with people what that is, just when you wake up and you feel like you don't want to get up?
Oh, was it staying awake and doing something for 15 minutes, and then if you don't feel like being awake, you can go back to sleep?
Yeah, but I mean, that
was really helpful, and I did it. You're going to say, no, that's too much of a coincidence. But I kind of did it this morning. I was like, you know what? I'll have coffee. If I want to go back to sleep, I'll go back to sleep. And I haven't looked back, John.
Gary, thank you so much for coming on, for all the work you've done in comedy and with mental health advocacy, and for keeping our spirits up with the Celtics. And it's GaryGulmanBook.com, right?
It was my pleasure, John. And please let me know if you're in New York at all this summer. I'd love to have lunch, dinner, or coffee, or whatever we can agree to meet on. I would love that.
I love it. Thank you so much, Gary. I'll talk to you soon, okay? I really appreciate it.
Okay.
If you read the Shark app, you know the story about when I was driving along Hampton Beach and saw a whole bunch of DeLoreans. Yeah, like the cars from Back to the Future. And then I just didn't hear back from the guys. And I thought, oh my gosh, time travelers. No, good news. They followed up with me. They got in touch. They said they wanted to come on the show, and they're here with me right now in the Shark Tank. Would you please welcome from Northeast Region DeLoreans, a.k.a. Nerd, Adam and Mike. How's it going, guys?
Hi.
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. So, again, you're a part of a club. Let's clarify for this for people. A club of drivers that have DeLoreans. And these are like real DeLoreans from Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's right. We formed in 2020, and we've got about 25 to 30 cars in the club, all from New Hampshire and Mass.
All just from New Hampshire and Mass? You got almost 30?
Maine.
Oh, that's in some in Maine. Okay, great. So that's unbelievable. How'd you guys meet and form this club? How did you first of all get DeLoreans and then realize there's other people with DeLoreans in the area?
So I was driving up 93, and I believe Mike's girlfriend's son, right, saw me driving and took a picture, sent it to Mike, and said, "Look what I found." So Mike reached out to me, I guess through Facebook, or was it
Facebook.
One of the groups there?
Yeah.
Said, "Hey, we should start a club." And I said, "All right, I'm on board." He and I met, and then we just started collecting members.
Yeah, it turned out there was a huge vacuum in New England. There was no club. There hadn't been for years, and a lot of people were real thirsty to kind of join this gang, and it formed up a lot faster. There were more in New England than I ever thought there would be. And we're only 3 years into this, and I always feel like we've collected everybody, and then 2 or 3 new people we find and want to join the club.
Yeah, like 20 minutes from my house, the guy showed up just a couple months ago. Just showed up in his DeLorean. And just said, he found us, online.
Okay.
He didn't show up at the house. That was
and he had crazy white hair, and he was wearing a white lab coat. Mm-hmm. He said he wanted to be part of this. It was just Bernie Sanders. But you actually drive these cars. Like, this isn't just like you drove it here today. You drive them on the road, right?
Yeah, I daily drive mine from about April to November.
Yeah, I have another daily driver, but it's been in the shop for 2 months. Actually, my most reliable car is my DeLorean, so yeah, I drive that one, as often as I can, really.
That's unbelievable. That's just so cool. So, how do you purchase them? Like, is it hard to find a good DeLorean nowadays, or are they kind of making a comeback?
That's a tough question today. 3 years ago, it would have been a different answer.
Well, you got to get in the DeLorean and go back and get me that answer.
Well,
come on. You threw it to him. You threw me the lob. I slammed it down.
So prices have sort of skyrocketed in the past few years.
Oh, wow.
I think we were both pretty fortunate to find ours at reasonable prices. But now they're very unattainable for a lot of folks, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I actually bought mine on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, from a guy in New York.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Same. Facebook Marketplace.
There you go.
Except Mass. I got mine from Mass.
Well, let me ask you, is it hard to maintain? Is it harder? Because you said one's in the shop. Is it tricky to maintain a DeLorean than other cars, or is it just like any other vehicle, really?
It's got its quirks. It's definitely a unique vehicle, and it's got a lot of really funky things about it. I mean, to start with the doors, obviously, not a lot of cars have gull-wing doors, and ours has a tension rod that opens up the doors, kind of like you'll see for other things in cars, but ours is on the door, so that's pretty unique. It has mechanical fuel injection because it exists in this weird realm between carburetors and electronic fuel injection. And that's a really tricky one, and there's not very many people that understand mechanical fuel injection. In fact, the fuel injection distributor looks like a regular spark distributor cap, and so even car guys will open up the top and be like, "Oh, that's a weird spark plug." I'm like, "Oh, that's a fuel line."
Well, let me ask you this. When you call a garage, when you call a mechanic, like how many people hang up immediately when you say, "Hi, I'd like to bring in my DeLorean to get it fixed"? Do people think you're prank calling them, or is it like, "Oh yeah, sure, come on down"?
It does happen, but thankfully right now we're a large enough group, and there are enough folks in the club that are very versed in the car that I don't think a lot of us even go to mechanics anymore.
Yeah, we pretty much do all our own work.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
There's a couple of specialty shops around the country where people have sent their cars, particularly in Ohio, or there's DMC still operates out of Florida and Texas. And so there are places that you can, spend some money to ship your car out, have it fixed, and get it back a year later. But none of us want to be without our car for that long. So
sure,
we've taken to mostly doing our own work and helping on other guys' cars. That's one of the great things about the club is that we have this resource of people and knowledge and skills, and everybody's done a little bit different types of work on the car. So, we mostly keep them up ourselves and pretty proud of that.
Yeah, and I saw you guys again at Hampton Beach, and it just seemed like at first it was surreal. It was just a row of just endless DeLoreans, and nowadays we're all in a weird place. So I was like, oh, I'm having one of my episodes, but no, they were real, and you guys, it seemed like such a pleasant group. You guys were having such a fun time just talking. What do you guys do for activities when you get together? When you get the gang of DeLoreans together, what do you go out and do?
So we have a whole bunch of activities that we do. That was actually a cruise that we were taking because our tech day got cut short.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I should even go into detail as to why. But
okay. Wow, we're getting into some top. This is it.
It was emotional. But
okay.
So we ended up going up the coast, and that was just sort of halfway through. A couple folks needed to make a gas run before we went up through Rye Beach and everything. So that's why we had stopped, and you found us. But we do a lot of tech days, car shows. We've gone to the Shea Farm in Hubbardston, which is Bill and Patrick Shea. They own the Back to the Future Museum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they have a couple of screen-used cars and props galore. They've got more screen-used Back to the Future props than I think any private collection has. In fact, they rent them out to places like Hollywood Museum and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was a real treat.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Does anyone from the movies know you guys have this club? Like, do any of the actors know about this?
No, probably not. I mean, there are other clubs in the country, and we're by far not the largest.
Oh, wow.
So I think if you go to like the Mid-Atlantic Club is really large.
Well, we're the most exclusive. Mid-Atlantic will let anybody join.
That's fair.
Yeah,
we're an owner's club. Yeah.
We got some DeLorean turf wars going on here.
Oh, we're looking to have gang wars. Maybe we're trying to set it up.
There you go.
Switchblades and nunchucks because we're doing it 80s style.
I tell you, dude, as soon as I get the doors open to this thing, you are going down. Just give me 5 minutes. You're big fans of the films, obviously, right? This isn't just a vehicle thing. Like, do you love Back to the Future? Is that for real?
Yeah, so I love 80s movies. I love the car more than I love the movie.
Okay.
And I've very much separated the two in my head. In fact, there's a lot of 80s movies I love more than Back to the Future, although it's, top 10, top 20.
You're going to be showing up in the Ecto 1 next time, aren't you?
I'd love to have an Ecto 1.
Be cool, right?
But, strip down the movie aspects of the car, and the DeLorean is my favorite car in the world. Maybe the Countach could come close to it. But this was, to me, it was the ultimate physical possession to own was this car.
It's awesome.
And I got it, and now I don't know what to do now that I have that. What do I do with the rest of my life? Just drive it around? I got no more goals anymore. I already accomplished them all.
What Back to the Future do you think is the best Back to the Future? Because there's 3 movies. So which one's your favorite?
First.
I'm going to say the first one.
Okay.
Second one.
Yeah, see, growing up.
Hoverboards.
Yeah.
I know. I wish it held up.
Why the first one? Why do you like that one the best?
It just has a different magical feel to it.
Okay.
The second one was definitely a favorite growing up, but as I got older and watched it more, it just felt like a big chase scene to me.
Okay. Mike, what about you? Why do you like the second one most?
I'm just such a sci-fi nerd. Like anything in the future, especially a date that I'm actually going to live through was a lot of fun. And same thing, as a kid, I'd pop in the second movie on my VHS until it wore out. And in fact, I don't think I even saw the third movie until I had watched the first 2 probably 100 times.
I don't know that everyone in the third movie saw the third movie. That one, you don't hear that one talked about. They go to the Wild West or something, right?
Yeah, it mostly takes place in 1885.
Yeah. It's crazy it didn't work out. But let me ask you this, and this is, I think, the question that we really came here to ask. Not if, but when you time travel in your DeLoreans, where and when are you headed, Adam?
France, late 40s?
Don't tell me this is the tough question. I mean, this is the whole reason you have a DeLorean. I know, it's a lot to consider, though,
So honestly,
right?
the fascination around the DeLorean did not come from the Back to the Future films for me.
Oh, okay.
So as much as I love the movies, like Mike said, I separate the two.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't get in the car and think about time travel.
Where would you go if you could, just for fun?
I'm going to the future.
Yeah,
I'm telling you that.
You're both going to the future.
I'm going to skip a century at a time because I got to know what happens. I want to see us colonize the moon. I want to see us get intergalactic travel. I want to know how far can humanity go before we fizzle out. So I'd keep skipping forward until I found out all those answers.
Until you go ahead 3 years and go, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, spoiler I didn't want. Anything you'd like to add in case someone's listening and they got a DeLorean and they just like to make some new friends? Is there any way they can reach you guys? I know it's a very exclusive club. I had a hard time reaching out to you guys. What should they do if they want to get in touch?
Well, we do have a Facebook page. It's private, but you'll find us if you search for Northeast Region DeLoreans on Facebook. There's a couple of questions like where do you live and what's your VIN number so that we can confirm that you do, in fact, have a car.
Wow.
And so if you answer those properly, we'll reach out and we'll invite you to the next event.
Guys, thanks so much for coming in. It's Adam and Mike from Northeast Region DeLoreans, and I'm so glad we finally met up. And please don't take off on me this time. Please, let's see each other again. Don't go to the future just yet.